Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Mast Musafir, and this is your friend Shifali. So I had come for a vacation in Belagavi, and right now I'm at this beautiful waterfall called the Gokak waterfalls, and very nearby it there's a mill, and wherever there's a British mill or a mill from the colonial times, you are bound to find a bungalow. And so here behind me we have found a bungalow.
Hello again. So yes, basically I made a short visit to Belagavi or Belagavi to meet a relative. But I did manage to make a travel trip out of it by trying to visit certain interesting locations nearby. And yes, I know, for all my love and fondness for Delhi winters, I did ditch it for a while to seek some warm respite and so headed down south, but leave that. Right now here you can get a sneak peek of me taking you into this old British colonial bungalow. But before we get into it, let's start from the beginning. So yes, to escape the freezing Delhi winters, we did head to Belgaum. I boarded the flight and I landed at Hubli airport. Now Belgaum does have its own airport, but the timings were too early, and so I just suited a convenient timing and landed at Hubli, which was an evening flight. But Hubli is like 2 hours away from Belgaum, but I didn't mind the drive either. So yeah, we got our luggage and now we were in the city. I came around December end after Christmas, so the whole city was decked up in Christmas lights, all bright and colorful. And yes, I also managed to celebrate my new year over there, sitting under the clear sky, thinking about the year gone by and the exciting times to come. So I was not living in the city as such. I was living in the outskirts, near the highway, in a bit remote and rural area, and I really loved it. I loved going on walks and exploring places nearby and people and how they lived, and the villages and temples and people's life, and the cattle and everything. Now a little bit about Belagavi. It is also known as Belgaum or Belgaon, and it is in the southern state of Karnataka. It is in the western Ghats and has a lovely climate throughout. The monsoons are pretty heavy. It's an old town also. It has an old history as well, and it was also called Venugram, or the city or town of bamboos. And you can see it has an interesting topography. And yeah, when I say that it's an old city with an old history, do not mistake it for something underdeveloped. It has gone through all these modern urban industrial developments. The city itself is very neat, clean, organized. It is one of the smart cities under the smart city missions, and I found it quite brand new. And there you see the sugarcane and the windmills. I think two major mainstays of the city, I would believe. Yes, agrarian and industrial, both. That's the fort in the distance, and now we are crossing a river because now we are headed to our next pit stop, basically the first pit stop, which is the Gokak Falls. Now near the Gokak Falls are these several old Hindu temples, 10th and 12th century AD temples. That's the hanging bridge, and that's the river about to dip into a waterfall, but since it's the dry season you don't see a lot of water. So now, while there were many Hindu temples near the Gokak Falls, this one was the major one. It was called the Mahalingeshwara temple. It was an 11th century AD Lord Shiva temple, and it was built in this Kalyani Chalukyan architectural style with the Ardh Mandapa and Mukh Mandapa and a Garbhagriha. And also, what was noted here was that it was facing north, which is sort of unusual for Lord Shiva temples apparently. These are all these old stone statues and sculptures around it. That's how it looks from the outside. Just look at the intricate carvings. I was taken aback. Something so old and has survived so well must be really strong. Yeah, breathtaking almost. Just the minute work in this hard surface is so breathtaking. I think the sun was complimenting it too. I love these niches and windows. That's my favorite part of any monument. I also found these very interesting inscriptions and markings and carvings, which I felt were quite interesting for that time. I would love to have a guided tour so that somebody could tell me more about them. And from the temple up here, you go down the stairs and then near the falls. I hope you're able to imagine the outlay of the place. So the Gokak waterfalls are formed by the Ghatprabha river falling down from a height of 52 meters, and the breadth is 177 meters. The crest is horseshoe shaped, and it's also called Mini Niagara Falls of India because during monsoons the flow is that heavy. So now it was time to exit the Gokak waterfalls, and right opposite it is the Gokak mills. Now these mills are powered by the Gokak water plant, but we'll get into its history soon. Before that, let's head to this bungalow, which is the old colonial British bungalow of the original founders of the mills and the power plant. So this was the main entrance of the house, the drawing room or the receiving area. These were some interesting views, almost took me to some other era in Europe, I would say. The cart and everything was giving it such warm feels. Those are the portraits of the owner. That's Alexander Henry Campbell, who took care of the company with the Forbes and Campbell. And that's their house. I just love going through these old houses. You know, they tell such a story. I like to imagine how the people lived, or what were the dynamics like of the family members, and just going through these old things, well preserved, I must say, paintings and portraits and pictures and remnants of a life lived. I wonder what these paintings tell, and when was this radio used. That was the bar area, I suppose, with that wonderful light streaming right in from the front. One of the best views. Yes, you can see the waterfalls from here. It was right at the edge of the cliff, this house, giving it one of the best views. That's us surfing through some of the old books that they had kept really well bound, well maintained, well preserved. Look at that, how to get a job. Concerns were the same, I must say. The yellowing pages, the old prints. It speaks of a different era. Look at all those old magazines, the Esquire, Punch, Cosmopolitan, with the years mentioned.
Ronald Reagan.
It's like I had entered a time machine by entering that house. There were different suites for the different owners and different company persons, different managers. There was somebody called Forbes, then Campbell, then Collins. Look at the rooms and the space and everything. Man, they lived a lavish life. Old portraits. That computer is a later addition. Prints of really old maps. I like the structure of a room within a room, and then they had spaces for everything. There was a lounge room, and then there were little reading rooms like this one. Look at this cozy little nook. A nice bedtime reading spot, I would say. I'm so glad I managed to flick through those old albums and archives and documents. It had portraits and pictures of the people involved in the whole project, in the company. Yes, there was one loyal Indian too. You'll see the picture soon. That's how it looked back in the days when it was set up. Look at that fall. Look at the amount of water there. These are the major officers. That's how the mill looked from inside. We were not allowed to enter the mill. That's Shambhu, and he's mentioned as the faithful peon everywhere. So we went ahead exploring further. This is the master bedroom, it seems. And look at the view it has right in front of the river and the falls. I must say it looked a bit scary too. There's something about these old brick and stone and houses with the wood and the old photographs. Every corner looks cinematic and artistic and dreamlike. A different world, a different era, a different time altogether, indeed. Creaky noises that the wood would make every time you stepped on it. It's haunting as well as beautiful, sublime almost. Reminded me of all the classic books I would read, and they had a collection of their own. Loved the binding. And yes, old radios, how can we forget that? That was how the house looked from behind. It opened onto that lovely view, yes, a major river right in front. Now it was getting evening time and it started looking a bit scary, I must say. But all the peace and the quiet, I sort of envied the people who lived here. It's being maintained by the company who owns the textile mill now. And I guess now it was time to close the doors on this one. And now we were out. And here we were at the mills, finally. We weren't allowed to go inside, but I just couldn't get enough of it. Had to look at it from every angle, capture it in almost every video and photograph. Now called the Gokak Mills, it was initially called the GWPNMC, which is Gokak Water Power and Manufacturing Company. So basically a hydroelectric power plant and a yarn spinning mill was set up in Gokak in 1887 near the Gokak waterfalls. They survive and are functioning till date. It was founded by the FFC, Forbes and Campbell, and has shifted many hands to finally have been acquired by Shapurji Pallonji Group since 2002 and 2003. Now it is called the Gokak Textiles Limited, and yes, it has survived from colonial to post-independent times and very much thriving now. So I've been talking about the Gokak Falls, mills and power plant. But where is Gokak? So it is 70 kilometers away from Belagavi. It sees the confluence of two rivers, Khatprabha and Markandeya. And the etymology is such that it is named after the Goki trees which are found in abundance. But also after this group of cow grazers, Gokak, who lived there. And it is also a title. So the famous Kannada writer V.K. Gokak also hails from here. He's a scholar of English and Kannada literature. And now we were headed to our last travel destination, which was the Kakti or Kakati windmills.
And we are in the city or the town of Belagavi. Interestingly, in this pretty agrarian landscape, what I do find are some industrial inventions. So we are right in the middle of what you would call a windmill landscape.
I was completely awed by these huge, mammoth-sized and gigantic towers and windmills. Interesting to note that each windmill had its own transformer attached to it. Look at me just running around like that. It was like I was an excited kid who had been catapulted from history and past into the modern era. Taking that last look, I guess I'll go back. So this is how my Belagavi days had come to an end. I had spent quite a good time visiting places, spending quality time with my mamu, going on walks with him giving me all the information about the local area, about the rich enterprising nature of the people, about the produce, about the sugarcane crop, cotton, millet, groundnut, the cattle, the poultry, the fishing, the mining. It's a bauxite rich area too, all the industries. Also, I found these village houses quite interesting with their front walls painted red, yellow, blue and green. All in all, I would like to say that Belagavi is quite a rich agrarian, industrial, educational and an upcoming technological hub as well. So with this, I had a great trip with walks and drives and travel, and thanks Mama for sharing my love for reading, traveling and blasting off old and new Bollywood music. And now with this lovely Belagavi sunset with slight rain in the background, our travel diary too comes to an end. See you in my next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.